my pot now, boy. What's going on, people? Guns Blazing back at it again, and today we got a nice Toadally Awesome deck for you, making use of Bahamut Shark engine. Pretty fun deck to play, pretty strong too, and you don't even have to combo for too long. Duel Links, transitioners, returning players, this might be the one for you, my boy. Anyways, the bread and butter of this deck is to just get out your Bahamut Shark, use it to summon Toadally Awesome, and this smug little dude can go ahead and negate any card the opponent plays, allowing you to set it to your side of the field, whether it's a monster, a trap, or a spell. So I go ahead and yoink this guy's pot. Next turn I can just use it for myself. This guy's mental was instantly broken the moment the pot was taken from him. And for the most part, people know what Toad does, but if they don't, then you can snag yourself some wild stuff like, I don't know, Raigeki, Feather Duster, things of that nature. The only real downside to building this deck is that you need to pick up 2 copies of Bahamut Shark and a bunch of ultra rares that you probably won't use in any other deck, which is always fine if you're just making alts. Anyways, for those that want to keep it simple or just want to play with one Bahamut Shark, that's fine. As I said, the main combo of this deck is very simple. You can just make a Shark and a Toad, call it a day, start yoinking things. It's really not a hard deck to pick up, and it is Xyz event friendly. It's only Xyz monsters in the extra deck, so for the time being, you can feel free to use this in that event. This guy knows what's up with the Toad, so he's just gonna crash into it. Toad is limited to 1 because he's just that dude. However, he can send himself back into the extra deck if he's sent to the grave, and then you can just resummon him next turn with the 1 mat that Bahamut Shark has left. Extremely hard for the opponent to deal with unless they're packing like a kaiju or something. This B-Raptor, that's mine now. That's my card now. As per Battle Seed rules, I now own this for the rest of my life. And again, this deck doesn't take a lot to get going. 1 Buzzsaw Shark and that's already your 1 card mini combo. This deck's no one-trick pony either. You can even go ahead and make Draco Future off of your thing. And that's the beautiful thing about this deck, is that you can put out some negates as well as some really disruptive cards without having to know really extensive combos. Another big part of this deck's starting lineup is the Stealth Kragen. Overall, really solid card. I'm gonna go out into that first this duel to deal with the Drytron. He's gonna use a quick. I'm also gonna use my quick, but I'm gonna come out on top because Stealth Kragen floats in 2 of his little seeds after he dies. That's actually kind of nasty if you think about it, but you can go ahead and make these 2 spawns into Draco Future. Sorry for the weird order here. I'm just a weirdo like that. Here he comes. This dude's also another yoinker. I'll show you some Draco yoinks later too. It's just the yoink bros out here. We got Toadally Awesome in the mix. In cases where there's nothing set, you can attack with a Bahamut Shark first and then spawn the Toad in main phase 2. Again, this deck is not top tier by any means, but it's decently strong. Like, I played it both in Xyz tournament and in Plat 1, streaked a bit in both. And the good thing too is that even though it's a simple deck, the ceiling is not too low. Like, if you pick up your extenders, you can do a little extended play. That way your board doesn't just end up being Toad. Here I opted to go for a Dweller and a Kraken. Although one of those also can be Draco Future. And more about Kraken, it's like, it has so many effects into it. Like, it turns all of the enemy's monsters into water. And the quick effect is non-targeting, which is always nice to have. This Maiden doesn't even get to pop its effects. And Abyss Dweller is also huge. Actually, a lot of decks are missing out on this graveyard locking. Like, this deck has the tools to roll Eldritch because you just take his stuff and then they can't pop in the grave. And on top of that, you have Abyss Dwellers, so everything they do from the grave, which is like 80% of what they do, it just gets shut down. Even things like Drytron heavily reliant on the grave. And I'll show you some examples in a bit. So here's the deck. Buzzsaw is of course your main starter, and then the tunas are just 3 more copies of it. You might recognize this combo from the Crooked Cook. There's our boy right there, although he's not the main focus this time. He's just in there in case you get like max seed. Someone to hold the board down until your next turn. But yeah, this time Buzzsaw goes out into our core, Bahamut Shark, which then summons Toad or can even go and make Draco Future. And then we got the Stealth Kragen Gozen Match combo. I'll show you that quickly later. It just shuts down the opponent from summoning anything, very cheesy. And all of these, your Remora, Angler, Shthana, Lantern Shark, White Mirror, they're just all your combo and extender pieces. Helps you go ahead and make those fat boards that include Dweller and Kragen. And I just like this 3 Designator, 2 Called by the Grave counter hand trap core, and then we just run a few of each of the cards that we don't want to get hit by. These let us combo on turn 1 without having too much fear of hand traps. And of course, 1. So I'm just gonna go ahead and show you what you can do with like a Buzzsaw Shark plus a Remora. Instead of making Toad, make Nightmare Shark and turn that into Black Ray Lancer, and then you can use Remora to remove one mat from each. Resummon those materials from the grave, go ahead and turn the 2 Xyz monsters into Draco Future, and then you can make a second Bahamut Shark, and this one's gonna summon your Toad. After that, if you have more stuff, you can obviously make more, but you can make these 3 Xyz monsters off of just Buzzsaw Shark and Remora. Obviously, I lean a little toward the Toad combos, but sometimes it's good to prioritize Kragen. By the way, I'm not too sure, but I think a Maxx board could also have Dweller. That's literally all your boss monsters. This hand just needed one more extender, and of course, the Gozen Match. This pairs up with Kragen, turning all of your opponent's monsters into water. And 90% of the time, that means if they can't get rid of Gozen, they're just gonna scoop, because they can't summon anything after that. Here's one against Drytrons for those that are interested if it can deal with some of the stronger decks. Obviously, some conditions are gonna have to be met. You have to go first and whatnot. This was one of my first games with the deck, so please excuse the scuffed combos, but the main thing here is that I'm going to be able to make an Abyss Dweller out of all this. Although, of course, I didn't know from turn 1 he's playing Drytron, but it's going to put in some huge work regardless. This is kind of greedy just shotgunning my Toad, but if I see a pot, I'm taking that, my boy. That's free stuff for me next turn, as long as he doesn't have a way to destroy it. I see the Cyber Emergency, I'm going to instantly pop my Dweller after that. This shuts down a lot of things in Drytron, like the effect monsters can't activate and resummon themselves from the grave. Benton doesn't do anything. And this is what happens when a Drytron player doesn't have access to their graveyard. They had to settle for the ZEUS play, which is actually his best play, so pretty nice of him to realize that. Although, oh no, I don't get to use a pot, I just yoinked. I am going to be able to trade off the ZEUS though, with my Kragen. And at the end of this turn, a sight you usually don't see is just the Benton summon. The ending on the Benton. So we got cleared out, but we do have some solid follow-up, including Called by the Grave, so I can just call that Ash. Again, these combos are going to be scuffed because I was, for some reason, allergic to Xyz Remora. Seems I'm also allergic to any kind of Bahamut Shark attacking before the Toad summon on a clear board. But it's okay, me deck good, me deck carry me, I'm gonna have my ZEUS as well. He draws his last pathetic card, that couldn't possibly be anything, right? No need to worry. No! Jokes? Oh. Thanks, man. My nib now. Anyways, I was wondering, like, is there anything viable to do with Time Thief? Because Redoer is cool as hell, and I was thinking of trying to make a Time Thief deck, but I have no idea how to go about it. This duel is going to have the Kraken lead though, so that I can deal with the Time Thief in case he tries to use his quick effect to dip. Also got Triple Tack in the back, although I took it out, but in this duel I was still using it. Go ahead and get my Bahamut Shark out. He's going to Time Thief here, and I'm going to pop it now so that he can't dip. And that also enables my Tactics talent because he used his monster effect in my main phase. So go ahead, resolve. Toadally Awesome comes out. I pop Triple Tack, take a look at his hand, but he scoops. Thanks to pause technology though, we can see what he was hiding. Just kidding, it was really nothing interesting. There are some cards that Toad cannot end up yoinking. One of them being the Time Lords because they don't get destroyed, and therefore Toad can't set them to our side of the field. But that's gonna be okay, so we're gonna go ahead and pick up the Buzzsaw Shark from the Toad instead of reviving the Toad or resending the Toad to the extra deck. Go Bahamut, do the Draco Future combo, which is, by the way, why we need Nightmare Shark, because it climbs up into Black Ray Lancer. Gonna go ahead and attack this Time Lord, forcing him to activate its effect at the end of the battle phase, and then I take it. Kinda nice that this deck has options to take on a variety of different decks. Then of course this boy doesn't actually read what Draco Future does, so he tries to crash into it, but Draco cannot be destroyed by battle either, so he's just gonna yoink that too. My Time Lords now, boy. A nice little Buzzsaw Shark, sloppy toppy, get that Abyss Dweller, finish him off. Nice and clean overall. And here's a duel where it's an example of when you can use, what's his face, Crooked Cook. As you can see, I don't have one of my counter hand trap cards on me, so I'm just gonna end this turn early. Get the cook. They can't really deal with that. He also has right hand shark on it. Now it's my turn to use Maxx C so I can maximize my chances with the ladies. And the poggers thing about Crooked Cook, he doesn't really need his mats, so I can just go ahead and use those for Remora. Revive the Buzzsaw on the right hand. Those are gonna get floodgated unfortunately, but we still have the Silent Angler. Gonna go ahead Bahamut Toad. You also have the option of turning your Bahamut into, Zeus. These floodgated monsters can be some nice droplet fodder. This can also be droplet fodder too. Thank you for the lightning storm. I won't be able to use it obviously though, unless my board somehow gets cleared, but again it's gonna be a nice droplet fodder if I ever need it. Gravedigger's Trap Hole comes out, feels bad man, there goes my Toad. But it's pretty much checkmate. We got the Zeus on deck, we got Forbidden Droplet in case he tries to go out into any monsters, just gonna do that right now. And that's pretty much it. I think I've shown most of what this deck does already. Many shenanigans to be had with this boy. Got a couple more replays though, so this one I think he just goes out into Zeus. It's forum mats, so he can activate and then I chain my Toad and then he can activate again to clear my board. But that doesn't stop the fact that we get to yoink the Zeus at the end of the turn, or sorry, at the end of the chain. Another thing about the Toad, you can't use Monster Reborn on it because it was not properly Xyz summoned, it was summoned by the effect of Bahamut Shark, so this guy I think he was trying to reborn my Toad. But either way, he gets to make another Drytron off of this, goes Chakanine, and then Drytron. And this will be able to deal with our Zeus that we just yoinked later. But that's too little too late, we get all of these summons, he's just gonna instantly pop the Zeus. I get my Stealth Kragen, pop that. Go ahead and turn Kragen to my own Zeus so that I could just finish him off next turn, no matter what he goes for on this turn. And of course, in order to BM, I have to show him who the superior Zoodiac player is. I'm just kidding, I have a Zoodiac quest today for 20 gems. And I just have one final thing to say about the Toad. Crapodilik! Crapodilik!